This evening's forum. On behalf of Power of Public Education Lafayette, I would like to welcome you to the forum on exploring the school performance score. How does it affect our children? It is sponsored by Power of Public Education Lafayette. PPEL is a not-for-profit organization of parents, educators, and citizens advocating for effective and equitable public schools in Lafayette Parish. PPEL forums provide information from subject area experts and offer an opportunity for members of the community to engage with the information, ask questions, and build understanding in order to take action. Thank you all for attending the forum tonight. We hope it will be one of many to come. We welcome your input and hope, if you have not done so on the way in, that you take the time to give us your contact information so we can include you in future events. Thank you also to the Clifton Chenier Center for allowing us to use this excellent facility. Here with us tonight to inform and guide our discussion of Louisiana's school letter grade system is an esteemed panel of experts currently involved in administering the system, as well as experts who have contributed to the academic understanding of Louisiana's accountability system. Presenters at our forum tonight are, from this end of the table, Tom Spencer, Director of Accountability for the Lafayette Parish Public School System, Noel Hammett, retired Professor of Education from Louisiana State University and former President of the Louisiana School Board Association. He continues to contribute to education research in Louisiana and maintains a blog on public education in Louisiana. Dr. Frank Del Favreau, Professor of Education Administration and Policy Studies at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. He has made important contributions to education scholarship in the areas of measurement and assessment. Finally, Dr. Patrice Pujol, Superintendent of Ascension Parish Schools and the former President of the Louisiana Association of School Superintendents. She currently serves as a member of the State Accountability Commission. We thank you, panelists, for giving your time tonight to address people's goal of increasing citizen understanding of major education policy issues. Acadiana Open Channel is taping the forum, and they will be running the program on AOC at a later date. The program tonight will begin with 10-minute presentations by each of the 4 speakers. There will be time for questions after the speakers have finished their talks. Please hold your questions to the end. I encourage you to write down your questions while you hear the presentations and try your best to make them concise. Our first speaker is Tom Spencer.
10 years ago, this would have taken less than 5 minutes. It's gotten quite more complicated since then. I'm also used to using an overhead projector on a brick wall in the classroom, so this is kind of fancy for me. I'll probably not use the automatic gadget and just hit the arrows over here. All I want to do is tell you how they derive the school performance score. Piece most people are familiar with is the assessment index for our elementary and middle schools. That's comprised of LEAP, I-LEAP. There's a very small number of our more severely handicapped special ed kids that take a test known as LOB 1, and that's such a small number we won't discuss the details on that one. We have English and math, and in LEAP that's also high stakes for 4th and 8th graders, science and social studies. For elementary schools without an 8th grade, any school without an 8th grade in the elementary middle configuration, their score is 100% based on that LEAP I-LEAP index. For middle schools with an 8th grade, 95% is the assessment index, and there's a 5% factor. We'll get to that slide in just a minute. For high schools, we have an ACT index. They take that test in 11th grade, and it's used when they graduate. They do have an opportunity to take it a second time as seniors if they want to improve their scores. We also have end-of-course assessments, Algebra 1, English 2, Geometry, Biology, English 3, and U.S. History. They take those classes, those tests, whenever they happen to take the class. Okay, Algebra and English, Algebra and Geometry, they have to pass one of those to graduate. And in English 2 and English 3, they have to pass one of those to graduate. And then they have to pass either Biology or U.S. History to graduate. That's also 25% of the high school score, just like the ACT is. Also in middle school, that is, let's say their kids are taking algebra, they do take this test, and they can earn a few bonus points for the middle school. The way the index is derived, each performance level on the test is assigned a specific number of points. For our LEAP and iLEAP, we have 5 performance levels. The 2 lowest receive no points. Basic, which is also considered proficient by the state, gets 100 points, 125 for mastery, and then the advanced students contribute 150 to the index. End of course, there are only 4 performance levels. 0 for the 2 bottom, those are not considered proficient, and then 100 and 150 is what the excellent and good contribute. We have the ACT, that's a sliding scale. A kid has to make at least an 18 to get any points at all, and when they get those points, it's 100, and it goes on all the way up to 150.4 at 36. This was, you don't know this, but I worked at the state for about 10 years doing this accountability stuff. That actually would have been 150 round had I done it while I was there. So that 5% factor for the middle school with the 8th grade is a new invention called a dropout credit accumulation index. It weighs 5% in the middle school score. And the way they get it is however many credits, Carnegie units a student has at the end of 9th grade, the middle school, wherever the kid attended 8th grade, gets those points. And that's the scale how they're given from 25 up to 150, with 3.5 being the minimum. Graduation data makes up half of a high school score. We have this thing called the cohort graduation rate index. And what they do is they simply take the percentage of kids. They started 9th grade together as first-time 9th graders, and they graduated 4 years later. We're going to go ahead and add on any kids that transfer in before their junior year or before October 1 of their junior year, and also kids who transfer around within the district. If they transfer before October 1 of the senior year, they're added to the cohort. And then we subtract any kids who legitimately transfer out. Okay. Out of state, out of district, private school, homeschool, things of that nature. I just put a few values at the bottom to show you how the formulas work, how they lay out. A school that had a grad rate of 10%, I don't know if we have any of those anymore, but we actually did when we started using grad rate. We get 11.7 points, okay? And if you actually were to put these on a slope, you would see a relatively shallow slope moving up until you hit that 60%, and then you would see it climb quite a bit more sharply as it moves on up to the 100% and the 150. You also take that same group of kids and you determine how they finish high school. What kind of diploma did they get? Did they get any advanced placement credit? Did they do well on what's known as the International Baccalaureate test? I don't think we've even given that one in Lafayette Parish before. If they do really great on those things, then they get 150 points. And then as it moves down to the regular high school diploma, that's 100 points. A GED gets 25. And they tossed in those two at the bottom on the 5-year graduate. the kid that we can keep in school for an additional year. They aren't actually counted in the cohort. Those are actually bonus points that show up on that list. Okay, they're going to add 140 points into the numerator, let's say, and they do not increase the denominator on the calculation, so they are pure bonus. There was a lot of ruckus last year when they came out with progress points, and let's see, one particular board member who's over in the budget meeting this evening has made it quite clear that Lafayette would have been a C district if not for progress points. He probably refers to them as bonus points, and he is correct. Okay, they work on the same principle as the value added for teacher evaluations. Okay, an elementary or middle school has to get 50% of their students who were considered non-proficient the prior year. They have to get them to a target that's actually set by a statistical calculation. If they exceed that target, then they're eligible for those progress points. And that's 50%. High schools only need to get 30% of those kids to their expected growth target. That's actually created, the pool was created by kids who got below proficient on their last state test. And then there's some series of ACT tests called Explore, Plan, and then ACT. Explore and Plan set the target, and then ACT determines if they exceeded it or not. So then we have to combine the indices. Let's shift it a little bit around on this particular computer, but I can still see what we have. Okay, for the elementary school, you do that simple index, leap index, and then you can add those progress points on top if the school earned any. You cannot get more than 10 of those progress points. That's the max. High school or elementary, middle. Your middle school gets 95% times that leap index. And then we're going to take 5% of that strange dropout credit accumulation index, 5% of it added together. Any progress points the school got, you add on top. Always add it on top. Then your high schools, you're going to figure out each of those 4 indices we mentioned, and you're going to take 25% of each of those. And if the high school got any progress points, you'll put it on top. One question that was in the email that came to me was, what are the results of the school performance scores or the letter grades? Actually, a school can earn rewards. Okay, if they're an A school and improve 5 points or reach 150, then they get some money from the state, if the state has any money to give. And then your lower performing schools at your B, C, D, and Fs, if they grow 10 points, they can earn their rewards. The only thing they can't have if that occurs is they cannot fail NCLB, the old NCLB policy, which is actually related to the subgroup percent proficient. The other issue would be sanctions. BESI policy says that if the school's an F, the district has to offer at least 2 choices for the parents to transfer to higher performing schools. A new law passed this last session called Act 853, says that any student in a D or F school can transfer to any A, B, or C school, even across district lines, as long as the school has room to take that particular student. We do get to write those policies ourselves. The letter grade scale is there on the left-hand side of the slide. I did want to point out that this year, 13-14, they are going to curve those particular scores so that we have the same number of elementary A's as we did last year, or possibly more. You could move up. The same number of B's, C's, D's, and F's. Same way with the high schools.
Thank you, Tom. Next up is Noel Hammett.
The preceding program was made possible in part with production assistance provided by AOC Community Media.